We've heard everything from she was raped and murdered to it was an accident to potentially she overdosed. We've heard everything. But until you find the remains, and even if you find the remains, I mean, if she overdosed, you will never know.
Hello, listeners. We're Shedding Light, and I'm Candy.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Susie.
And we're hell-bent on shedding light on unsolved missing persons cases across Canada,
in an attempt to find the missing piece of the puzzle.
What you are about to listen to is the culmination of countless hours of research in an attempt to gather as many facts as possible about the case by reading news articles, online blogs and forums, and by interviewing friends, family, and people involved in the case. We will discuss different theories and possibilities and pick them apart in order to evaluate their likelihood, or better yet, eliminate them. We weren't there. We don't claim to know what happened. We can only try to paint a picture using the resources that we do have. We don't claim anything to be fact that isn't. We don't claim our interviewees' words to be fact. It's their memory. It's their recollection. It's their truth, and it's their opinion. And everybody's entitled to one. That does not mean we necessarily share any of these opinions. And listeners, please remember, everyone, including the suspects, is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Please bear that in mind as we welcome you to
Season 5, Episode 3, Who Took Lisa Maas?
Produced in partnership with Please Bring Me Home and sponsored by Bruce Power. The site is located on the eastern shoreline of Lake Huron near Tiverton, Ontario, within the traditional lands and treaty territory of the people of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash and Saugeen First Nation. Bruce Power is dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and is committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Georgian Bay Métis Nation of Ontario, and the historic Saugeen Métis, and to leading by example in this community and industry.
Just a heads up that there is some foul language and adult content in here. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, listeners. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we would suggest familiarizing yourself with the case of Lisa Reimer Maas by listening to episodes 1 and 2 of this season. And for those of you that have been following Lisa's story and have as many questions as we had, we hope to answer many of those in this episode. Join us as we discuss the possible suspects in her case, as well as potential motives.
In 2007, 19 years after Lisa disappeared, the list of suspects had been reduced to a single name by detectives of the OPP's Historical Investigations Unit. It was finally announced that they had narrowed in on one suspect, someone known to Lisa. Police originally had 7 suspects and conducted over 165 interviews, but no one was ever charged with her disappearance. Statistics show that 80% of women who are murdered know their killer. Unfortunately, Lisa became one of these statistics. A news article written by Scott Dunn and published in the Owen Sound Sun-Times on December 21, 2007, reports that Detective Constable Andre Baird says that neither Lisa's ex-husband nor Roy, her ex-boyfriend, were suspects in the case. What are your thoughts on this, girls?
My first thought was that after so many years, they must have finally got a break with the DNA when they tested the blood the year before, and maybe it just took them a long time to confirm it.
And I couldn't help but wonder if maybe the announcement was maybe a media ploy to help get people talking again. Sometimes they do that, I think, to get the real suspect to finally let their guard down, thinking that they're off the hook. So maybe they hoped for someone to finally slip up and give them the final bit of evidence they needed to charge someone.
But you notice that they didn't include that they had eliminated Gary, and Gary was the last person to see Lisa alive, according to Gary, right?
According to Gary.
According to a lot of people. We can tell you that not once did it ever cross our minds or those of anyone who knew Lisa's ex-husband that he had anything to do with her disappearance. I believe he was living in Orangeville at the time, which is also where they were living when Lisa left him. He was just a really sweet, happy-go-lucky, mild-natured guy. Ken Reimer, Lisa's dad, was very fond of him and went on record saying so. I'm going to read an excerpt taken from the same December 21st, 2007 article in the Sun-Times. When she married Mr. Maas, a surveyor, in 1986, they moved to Toronto. He's a nice lad who comes from a nice family, Reimer said. Though Mr. Maas has moved away and remarried, Reimer and Maas still keep in touch. In this same article, Detective Constable Andre Baird was quoted as saying, I think if Lisa was around right now, she'd tell you that one of the biggest mistakes of her life was leaving a guy like Mr. Maas, Baird said. I spoke to her friends, and I have no doubt about that.
But Roy, on the other hand, well, that's a different story. Many people have stated publicly that they still believe he had something to do with Lisa's disappearance for various reasons, which we will discuss. We cannot ignore the fact that Lisa was pregnant. Many believe that maybe Roy wasn't happy about the pregnancy. After all, they had just been dating for a very short time when Lisa became pregnant. He seemed disengaged during the topic when Lisa's friend chatted with her about it 2 weeks before she disappeared.
Roy
was sitting there, but I'm going to say
Roy
and I knew each other before he did Lisa, but I'm going to say that he probably didn't engage in our conversation. He might have just, drinking his beer, doing his own thing, even though he was right there. He didn't, just like, hey, girls, how are you? But he let us, because we all grew up, he let us talk.
One of our interviewees, who you also heard in episode 1, shared an alarming conversation she had with Lisa.
Yeah, she actually told me that he beat her up with the phone one night.
Jesus.
The phone like the handle that you speak into.
Yeah.
And I said to her, well, what the hell are you doing? Just get out. I don't understand why you ever left Terry.
Intimate partner violence may begin when a victim becomes pregnant. Research has shown that abuse while pregnant is a red flag for pregnancy-related homicide.
Sorry, everybody. It's driving me crazy. I have a tickle in my throat. We've actually been recording this season, episode 1, 2, and 3, all in the same evening. And I'm going to apologize for the raspiness of my voice. So, a post made by an individual on the Bring Lisa Reimer Maas Home Facebook group stated that they saw Roy at the Company Inn, which was the bar in downtown Owen Sound. Well, Lisa was there with her friends earlier the night she disappeared. They claim he was purposely trying to upset her. The post reads, I saw him at the bar before she went missing, and he was upsetting her on purpose. He didn't care that she was carrying his child. He was happy he was hurting her feelings. A complete prick. He kept hitting on my friend and would not leave us alone, even though he knew what it was doing to her. Can't stand the sight of him. I think he knows what happened, as he and Gary had known each other for a very long time. Roy allegedly had a history of partner abuse. The friend whose house Lisa was supposed to sleep at that night also made a post. It reads, I saw a different side of Roy also. He worked drywall with my boyfriend for years, not just Lisa, but with other women as well. Roy was selling all her stuff just a week after she went missing. Roy worked doing drywall years back with my boyfriend, so I saw him pretty much daily. The girl he went out with after Lisa came to me one time and told me he was burning her with cigarettes and abusing her. She never looked happy.
Well, there's one real upstanding citizen for you.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff.
And we'll just reiterate to the listeners that Lisa broke up with this fella the night before she went missing. Another group post about Lisa received an interesting response from another individual. It reads, I've spoken to the detective who was working the case. He came to Owen Sound and he drove me to the areas that I was taken to by my old neighbor. He wanted to see where I had been taken, and turns out the guy took me right to where her car was found stuck. My old neighbor was a character, and after everything he said and showed me, I couldn't sleep and had to tell what I knew. What the detectives did with that info, I have no idea. I'll have to try and remember all the names involved again. The guy who killed her went by the nickname Pinhead. Apparently, he got the name after driving a car off a road into a field with friends in it, and one of them yelled out and called him a pinhead, and it stuck as his nickname. I want to say his last name was or something like that. There was also these two brothers. I forget their names, but now the one brother is who had the house where the party was at, and second brother's house was just around the corner from where her car was found. Apparently, the car was never meant to be found where it was, and attempts were made to get it unstuck. I was told the plan was to ditch Mays by the second brother's house so the heat would go on to him, since she was partying at his brother's place earlier that night, and then hide the car elsewhere. Once the car got stuck on that trail and couldn't get out, I believe my old neighbor assisted in helping this pinhead guy. My neighbor described the scratches that were on this guy's face from fighting with Mays. This pinhead guy was her boyfriend or recent ex-boyfriend. I believe she was pregnant as well at the time. It was probably like 10 years ago now that I spoke to a detective assigned to the case. I think he traveled up from London to meet with me in Owen Sound. He met me at my house and talked, and while we talked, my neighbor was outside out back pacing around. The detective confirmed they had spoken to him in the past, but got no info from him. Yet he's telling me shit and driving me to the spot. End of quote. Please Bring Me Home has confirmed that they have spoken with the author of this post, and their story was consistent with their posted comments. They also made attempts to speak with this person's neighbor, but were unsuccessful. The information was apparently interesting enough for the police to want to speak with him, but whether he gave them anything of further value, we have no way of knowing. So, can we just recap that for a sec here, girls?
I think
that was a lot of information for the listeners to grasp.
Yes.
So, basically, this person is stating on Facebook that their neighbor told them a story, and the neighbor took them out and showed them where Lisa's car was, and stated that Lisa's ex, who we call Roy, had something to do with her disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
And the car got stuck. That wasn't where it was supposed to be found. The car got stuck. They wanted to dispose of Lisa's remains close to Gary's and pin it on him. Is that what you take from all this?
That's exactly what I took from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm taking. But do you honestly think these people would have told the neighbor that, or is that what the neighbor's surmising?
Well, and then if that is the truth, then why is Gary telling people that he saw Lisa drive out his driveway?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Just has you chasing your tail.
It's good to go through it, though, because this is all information that's out there on social media. So people start reading through it and you don't know what to believe, right?
Yep.
Yep. In an interview with Roy, Please Bring Me Home can confirm that Roy claimed to have never seen Lisa's car after she went missing until he got into the vehicle compound area and looked through the window of her car.
But why would he want to do that? I mean, that's kind of eerie, unless he was looking for something.
Oh, God, that reminds me. And I'm not saying it isn't weird, but people are known to do that. And I honestly hate to admit this, and I'm not going to mention names, but when I was around probably 12 or 13 years old, there was a fatal accident on the highway outside of where we lived, Ange. You probably know who I'm talking about. And it claimed the life of a friend's older brother. And I can remember going to the unsecured yard of the auto shop where his mangled car rested. It had been there for weeks just to look at it up close. And then I can recall seeing his hair in the shattered windshield. Like, it was just horrific. It's an image that I'll never, ever get out of my head. I'll never forget. So, I mean, that's my personal experience. Sometimes you're just curious, I guess.
Well, it's human nature. We've all been on a big highway before, and it's like, what the hell? What the hell? Why is there such a traffic jam? And as you get closer, it's because there's been an accident, right?
Everybody's rubbernecking it.
And yes, people need to slow down when the police are there. But when it's something completely off the road, even, yes, people just slow down just to gawk, because it's human nature. We
don't want to look, but then we look.
Yeah.
But in the case where I went to look, I was just a curious third party, and Roy was, pretty much inserted into this case and into Lisa's life. So it's a different story, him going to look. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but if he was being honest, and his ex-girlfriend that he claims he cared for went missing carrying his child, if I were innocent, I think I would want to look at the car too.
And maybe you see
defense.
something they don't see.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't give him the closure if he didn't see it too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yep.
In either case, whether he was looking for something or just wanted to see it for himself, he claimed to have gained entry to a compound where physical evidence should have been more protected. This shocks me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
If this is true, how many more people could have done the same and tainted any evidence in or on that vehicle before it went to Toronto for forensics? Even though police said that Roy was not a suspect, it's noteworthy to mention that many locals still have their suspicions that he had some involvement in Lisa's disappearance.
So Ron had a previous engagement he had to leave, which kind of pissed off a bit the whole crowd, because what's more important if they found something of your baby mama, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
If they found something about her, so why the hell would you leave? It was very disheartening.
Many people say he knows way more than he lets on. I'd like a crack at him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, there was even a suggestion that at one point that sex killer Paul Bernardo had attended a party in that area at the time that Lisa disappeared. We discussed this in season 4, the disappearance of Lois Hannah. It was the same rumor that was going around regarding her disappearance. And it was rumored he was at a stag and doe in Woodford, across the road from the pig roast party. Police have ruled him out completely as a suspect. They also stated that Lisa's disappearance was not linked to Lois Hannah's disappearance, which was just 2 weeks prior in Kincardine, Ontario, about 100 kilometers southwest of Woodford. Although some also suspected Bernardo in her case as well, like I said. He was known to frequent the area during this time, and the rumors also included him allegedly stealing a woman's purse from the stag and doe. It is ironic that we had the exact same claim in Lois Hannah's case. Both rumors state he was at the dance in Lois's case and at the stag and doe in Lisa's case, and a woman's purse was stolen. Could the two stories be the result of one incident being churned through the rumor mill? Who knows? But we can say that Bernardo has been definitely ruled out. And due to the severe nature of his crimes and the amount of times he committed them, I would think police would not have been able to rule him out 100% unless there was a solid alibi to prove so.
Of course, we asked the question, how would authorities narrow the suspect to just one? Either with alibis or DNA or polygraphs. Please Bring Me Home have been told that perhaps some of the people that were allegedly the last people to see Lisa alive were polygraphed, but they, of course, cannot confirm this 100%.
We've heard rumors that lie detector tests were given to people close to Lisa who may have been some of the last people to see her. We don't have any empirical truth, any evidence that proves they had these tests, but we've heard tests were administered and we've heard some didn't pass. We've heard some failed, some pass and some don't. And so, of course, if you fail a test, it's, that can't be used in court. Lie detector tests can't be used in court, but it's just another piece to the puzzle, right? Why is this person so nervous? Why are they trying to avoid perhaps telling the truth. What do they know? It doesn't mean that they were necessarily there when it happened, but maybe they've heard things and they want to try and avoid those questions.
I think it's a tactic that law enforcement likely use first to find out if they're going to have cooperation or not from someone. And if people don't give their cooperation, then it gets them to look closer at that individual. And then let alone the results from, the polygraph itself. They're not 100% accurate, and there are ways to get incorrect readings on it.
We have discussed over and over every possible scenario of when and where she may have died. So we have the party in Woodford, the trip back from Woodford to Gary's house in Annan, or once back at Gary's. That we know of, because keep in mind that her making it back to Gary's is according to him only.
Mm-hmm.
If you can figure out where the crime scene is, the body is going to be close by. There are so many hiding places in the Niagara Escarpment. I have crawled into more caves and holes and crevices than I like to admit. And those are the ones that weren't backfilled with rocks after because they hit a body in it. And if that's what they did, if they, these guys, don't forget, they grew up in Grey County. The Niagara Escarpment was their backyard. They would have gone somewhere familiar. They wouldn't have, pulled out a map and tried to fix it. They would have known it instantly where they were going to put her.
We questioned whether disposing of a body could have been done by one person in this specific terrain. And Matt referenced trying to carry a 100-pound bag of grain by yourself. It's possible. I mean, I carried my daughter, who is roughly 100 pounds, but I don't know how far I'd get at night in rough terrain.
Yeah, that would be a tough haul.
Yeah, how far could one person do that?
She's going to be close by to where they could drive to, or they could access it without carrying her very far. Criminals are lazy. Criminals are very lazy, and they wouldn't have carried her very far. There are very few cases where someone has walked with a body for half an hour. It's almost it doesn't happen. I believe her vehicle was the last thing they did. They would have dumped her body first.
If they did dispose of, and I have to say this, we're assuming Lisa is gone. If they did dispose of her body first, then you still have to account for how the blood of two people got in her car. There are just so many possible scenarios, and all of them are dependent on how exactly she died.
We've heard everything from she was raped and murdered, to it was an accident, to potentially she overdosed. We've heard everything. But until you find the remains, and even if you find the remains, I mean, if she overdosed, you will never know.
Did she overdose? Really? If your friend overdosed, would you hide the body if you had nothing to do with it? I wouldn't think so, not if you had no involvement. And as Matt surmised, why wouldn't you just leave her body in her vehicle if you were afraid of getting into trouble for perhaps giving her the drugs? I mean, in that case, nobody would tie the alleged overdose back to anyone else. Why go to great lengths to hide the body? Why?
Doesn't make sense. One rumor that we hate to have to discuss, and therefore I will attempt to do so delicately, is that Lisa was doing speedballs with Gary and another guy in the house. And Lisa got a bloody nose, so they left with her. Remember, many witnesses, Gary included, claimed they had his car at the party. So for this account to make sense, her nose would have had to continue bleeding after she exited Gary's car and got back into her car, as blood was found on the middle of her front seat.
Well, I can only think of 3 ways, really, that you would bleed. So either from a bloody nose, from some kind of physical injury, or girls, from a female menstruating, or in Lisa's case, a pregnant female experienced complications for whatever reason. Maybe she was hemorrhaging. I don't know. The question, anything's possible. And the question would be, why was the blood in the middle of the seat versus the driver's side if it was Lisa's? You could speculate that someone else was driving and there was another passenger in the front with Lisa in between them. Or perhaps they had Lisa's car at the party after all.
Mm-hmm.
And we have no idea of knowing for sure if police ever searched any of Gary's vehicles. We do have a firsthand account of this type of drug use at the party that we mentioned in episode 1. And again, we really, really want to stress that a possible overdose is only alleged. Her friends remain steadfast that Lisa was not drinking, nor would she do heavy drugs.
So if not an overdose, then why was she killed?
That's one of the big questions, is why? Why would someone want to kill her?
What could have been the motive?
Well, I can tell you a possible motive. Your newly single cute friend is alone with you. She may be under the influence or even sad. Either way, vulnerable, and you make a move on her which she refuses. You get upset and a struggle ensues. So did he accidentally kill her? It's possible. I think it's important to really look at the possibility of her hemorrhaging. There are a number of reasons this could happen during a pregnancy. Stress, drugs, rape. If it was due to either of the latter two, that would be enough for someone to want to cover it up, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, this brings us to the only other viable suspect that we haven't discussed yet. Gary. He happens to fit both criteria that authorities look for.
Police often look at who's close to the missing person or the deceased, and who was the last person to see them alive, and he hits both.
He was close to Lisa, and according to him, was also the last person to see her alive. Lisa's good friend that she drifted apart from doesn't know how Lisa got into that crowd.
See, and the funny thing is, I don't even know how she got into that crowd, to tell you the truth. I didn't realize Pinhead had connections with, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say names, but the person who everybody believes is a very bad person and did this terrible thing.
With the promise of anonymity, she agreed to let us share her horrifying personal experience with Gary.
Because he molested me and raped me. Because I didn't know him that well when he did it. And I was babysitting for a girl he was dating at that time. I was at a house party, and he was at this house party, and I was feeling very drunk and nauseous, and the girl that he was supposedly dating wasn't there, and he was, oh, hey, how's it going? Nice guy. Oh, do you need a ride home? Let me get you out to the car. Let me, gentlemen. And because I knew him, and I had met him prior to that in a different way, well, I didn't have he didn't give me any reason not to trust him. Because I had, like I said, I had met him before. And if I had just not agreed to going into his house to smoke a joint, none of that would have happened to me. And maybe that could have been me, because he wouldn't let me leave his house. The only reason I got to leave his house was the next day when somebody showed up.
Did you ever speak with him after that?
No.
Wow.
And I stopped babysitting because I was, well, like I say, I was 16, 17, and he was much older than me, right? But anytime I saw him on the street, I'd cross the street. And, yeah, so it was like, no, I kind of distanced myself from all those people, too afraid. Too afraid. To this day, I have a hard time. Because even my husband will tell me, do you ever let your guard down? I'm 56 years old. No, I don't let my guard down.
Wow. That is we appreciate her sharing that with us. And it was very, very brave of her to share this time of her life that I'm sure she wishes she could forget. This is a testament to Gary's character and could certainly fit with your idea of motive, Ange. Sounds like someone who would not take no for an answer and who preyed on the weak and the vulnerable. Very plausible for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So something very interesting and never before released to the public is the fact that Lisa's car was actually first found by a group of 4 friends the day after she went missing. So the day after she went missing, but before it was publicly announced that Lisa's car was found. One member of this group spoke with us and shared his recollection of the events leading up to the discovery. While you listen, keep in mind that this fella and 2 others were led to the site by a close friend of Gary's roommate. Gary's roommate is the same individual who some alleged accompanied Lisa, her friend, and Gary to the house party.
Yes, so at the end of the laneway where her car was found, I and 3 other people were at a friend's place. And so Buddy,
who we're going to call Robbie,
said, let's go check out my plants, marijuana plants, that is. And so it was a nice late Sunday afternoon. And so the 4 of us went for a walk. Anyways, I guess he was leading us on, I'm thinking, and we came across Lisa's car. So I didn't know Lisa, and Buddy, who was with us, he said, "This is Lisa's car," because he knew her from school. So he was looking inside the car, and the trunk was open, the window was down on the driver's side, and that was about it. And so I think there was a blanket in the back, and he grabbed it and just threw it, and there was nothing in the back, really, of the car. I think he didn't throw it out. He just kind of threw it back, like picked it up to see if anything was in the trunk, and then threw it back in the trunk. So then we just carried on. That was about it. And then we went across the field and came back again and went back to Buddy's house, who lived across the road from where the car was found. No, he didn't seem surprised at all. He just said, "Oh, this is Lisa's car." And that was about it. Yes, it was stuck. So we just thought, well, if somebody's, as
Robbie
said, it was Lisa's car. And, I just thought, well, somebody was out the Saturday night before, got the car stuck, and walked home or walked wherever, right? At that point, no, there wasn't. But I had heard later that it was ransacked or what have you. I don't know what happened, but yes. Okay. The car was in good shape. Now, he was leading us on because he said, let's go check out, before we left Buddy's house, he said, let's go check out my plants. So he was leading us on to go see the car on that Sunday, late afternoon. And so we were the first ones to come across the car on the Sunday. Now, the police and, say, the Sun-Times and what have you are saying a farmer found it 2 days later, I think on the Tuesday, which I don't think this has ever become public, but we were the first ones to come across the car on the Sunday. I had heard, I think it rained that night, I think. So, sure, it was July, and, usually July it's hot. And, but they got some rain that night, I think. And so it was there was a little bit of mud, and the car was stuck. Yeah. You could tell, you could see. I didn't know until Nick and Matt had said something, but now they say
Robbie
and his wife were at the party. But he had never said anything to us ever about it. Well, he hung around us most of the time, half the time. And, he did go from job to job like he has all his life. But, of course, he was a drywaller too at times. So, I think he worked with
Gary?
an odd time. So, and he also lived close to
Gary.
Right. It'd be a couple miles down the road. We were, must have been maybe a couple weeks after Lisa went missing, and we were in a vehicle I was driving, and it came over the news, of course, that Lisa was missing. So I chirped up to
Robbie
and said, do you think we should go to the cops and tell them? And I can still see it to this day.
Robbie
said, no, it's okay. Those were his exact words. So from that day, I was, always leery,
Robbie,
what do you know? What have, you done? It really got me thinking, okay,
Robbie,
you're involved somehow. But with me, because I was involved with, marijuana and cocaine and this and that, I should have went to the police, but I didn't, and I regret it now. And it's really, really sad, and I still feel it to this day. I should have went to the OPP and said something, but I'm sorry, I'm going to cry here. But it's just really, it's just really, really sad, and and finally, the OPP caught up to us about, I'm thinking, a couple months after Lisa went missing. And that's when we gave our first statement to the police. But I was with
Robbie's
farm at the time. And I bet you if I wasn't there,
Robbie
would have, he wouldn't have said he, saw that car on that Sunday after the party at Woodford. That's what I'm thinking, but who knows? But just because I was there, he had to say that he saw the car on the Sunday, right? And, I never really did hear any rumors, and
Robbie,
he was quiet. He never said a thing about Lisa. And we were close. Like he helped me on the farm he helped me build my house, and he never brought her up at all. Like, he was really quiet. But I always wondered why the OPP never, said the car was found on the Sunday, and why the OPP never went to Buddy's house, who lived right across the road from where the car was found. If you kept walking down that laneway, you would have, that would have been the first house you would have went to for help, right? But the OPP never went to his house to, ask any questions.
Wow. It really makes you wonder if the guy that led them there,
who we call Robbie,
had a hand in disposing of the car for a friend.
Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
He could have been directly involved, and he was trying to divert suspicion of himself by leading them right to it. Although it actually had the opposite effect on our interviewee, didn't it?
Yeah.
He suspected him.
Yeah, or
So.
maybe he was merely told about it by someone close to him who was involved. Maybe his conscience was telling him to come forward, but he was too afraid to. So he just took them all there just to see the car.
Could be. By leading them there, he was unloading what he knew without implicating anyone, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, really, again, who knows? But I definitely think he knows more than he lets on, for sure.
But why did it take police so long to catch on to these guys for questioning? Well, two of them anyway. Imagine never questioning the occupants of the closest house to where her car was located to see if they heard or saw anything. Brutal.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That part stuns me. Like, it's such a remote area, and the only house within.
Wouldn't that be Cop 101? I'm just saying. Seriously.
Yeah.
I get so frustrated. Yeah, I know. I get frustrated. Now, it is odd that the farmer stated the car and immediate surrounding area were in a much different state than our interviewee recalls. He said the window was down and the trunk open. No items strewn about. No wood under the tire. So did the culprits come back after and try to get unstuck? Wonder if the keys were ever found in it at any point.
So many questions. And sadly, someone out there holds all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
It is so important to pay attention to your surroundings. Like, I don't know if you guys notice this or if you've changed at all, but since doing our podcast, I'm always taking mental notes of details now and people. And when I'm observing certain events or situations, just driving down the street, watching people, taking note, never knowing what I might need to recall at a later time.
I take down mental notes of license plate numbers constantly.
I even take videos now. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's
you
not.
just think, if you're driving like I've done, I drive home, there's like just some random character driving down the street and I think dark jeans, gray shirt, white running shoes, hair, like you just think of it because, you see a girl walking 10 feet ahead of him and think, my God, I want to remember what he looks like.
That's what the world's come to.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you never know, right? Mm-hmm. And at approximately 5:45 a.m. the morning Lisa disappeared, a man setting out for an early game of golf was mere minutes late from witnessing what was most likely the disposal of Lisa's car.
Well, I saw, it rained a little bit, and there was somebody had walked up from the falls. And, I could see the tracks in the road, in the gravel, like. Well, I saw somebody when I pulled up to the corner, but then I don't know where they went. I had to look the other way, see if there's any traffic coming.
I believe this was at the corner of, is that where concession 6 and 8 meet? Is that right?
Yeah, the corner. When I looked back, the person was gone, so I don't know where he went. Well, do you know where the road is where the car was found? Anyway, this person come out of that roadway, walked up to the corner, and then when I saw him, he was up around a little bend in the road there towards Old Town. But I never did get, I was too far away to tell. Well, you don't take a note of what somebody's wearing. You see somebody, and by the time I get up there, he was gone, so I don't know where he went. Oh, it's probably about 5:45, because we were going golfing. We always golfed real early. Yeah, because I reported to the police on the first day they were out looking around. They were parked down at the corner there. And I thought, well, I better stop and tell them what I saw. First thing they said, well, she wasn't even missing then. So I guess it doesn't matter what I saw. The tracks were in the edge of the fine gravel. It rained enough that you could see where a person had walked. Well, like I said, I don't know where he went. I couldn't see him when I went by. I was heading towards the golf course out on the highway, where City Golf Course is. That's where I was going. I told lots of my neighbors about it, but like I said, when I reported to the police, I didn't get much. He just said, well, she wasn't even missing then. Well, she was missing then. Probably was only missing maybe for a couple of hours by then.
Wow. Can you
That's
imagine?
Crazy.
Yeah. If he was just a minute or two earlier, those responsible for Lisa's disappearance would have been caught. And most likely she would have been recovered.
Caught in the act, red-handed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
If Lisa were in that car, the golfer would have seen her with the man walking down the road, no doubt. And if someone was on foot, they were obviously planning on walking back to wherever they came from, right? So Really, how far away did they live? Likely wasn't far. And they would have had intentions on taking the car farther, but it got stuck. So where were they planning on ditching it?
There's people that we would love to talk to that are of interest to us, and they will not talk to us about Lisa's case. You know, the male companion is a person that is of interest to us, but he will not communicate with us. And anytime that we've tried to communicate with him, he has threatened me.
The male companion, Gary, that last saw her, this is the message that he left me when I was trying to reach him.
Saved message. Yeah, bitch, quit calling me. I've asked you to quit calling me. I don't need to talk to you ever. I don't know what you want to talk about. Don't care what you want to talk about. I don't know nothing about anything. And I'm going to see a lawyer, okay? We're going to get rid of you. Talk to you? Never. Bye.
I would say we've been successful interviewing absolutely everybody surrounding Lisa's case thus far, except for male companion,
Gary,
and
Gary's
close friend.
So early on when we started looking at Lisa's case, we spoke to a lot of people who were close with Gary. And one of the people that we spoke with was the mother of Gary's child, also Gary's ex. And what she had relayed to me was that the following day after Lisa had gone missing, she had gone there with her boyfriend at the time and her son, and to drop him off at Gary's house. And this was around 9 o'clock in the morning, again, the day after Lisa went missing. And she recalled seeing Gary out of sorts, recognizing very muddy boot prints and boots inside the house. And his house phone was under a bunch of couch cushions because he said it was ringing off the hook. She said it looked like Gary hadn't slept in a while and that he just wanted to, kind of shoo her and her boyfriend out the door. And, yep, I got him, all good. I got our son, and see you later, bye. And, she certainly did think that was peculiar behavior, more peculiar behavior than Gary usually does have.
Male companion's close friend is the only person to ever call the police on me.
It does make one wonder why someone that was innocent of any wrongdoing would threaten another person who is only trying to help locate a missing woman and her unborn baby.
Don't be afraid.
The people that don't want to talk typically have something to hide.
That little bit of information, you take that to another person, and you take that to another person, and you start putting it all together, and it starts to add up. And it only takes that one person, right? To say, one little thing that may be like, okay, well, let's go to this person and ask this person, maybe they can add to that. And that's kind of the way this whole thing has gone, because this is such a small town. You have one little person say one thing, and that person may not even be a person of interest. It's just a person that knows somebody a person of interest, right? And that's the thing about a small town. And that's why it puzzles me that it's been 34 years and nobody said a word. I don't know how people can know and not say anything. People that, we think might be involved are older now. So what's there to be scared of?
If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Lisa Reimer Maas, Please Bring Me Home can be contacted via the email address pleasebringmehome@outlook.com or by calling their anonymous tip line at 226-702-2728, or you can contact your local OPP detachment. If you enjoy our podcast and would like to support our endeavors, a 5-star rating and/or review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts would be greatly appreciated. It really helps new listeners to find us. And we wouldn't ever turn down the offer of a coffee or maybe even a glass of wine. Helps tremendously to wet our whistle while recording. The link to our Ko-fi account is ko-fi.com/Shedding Light Podcast. And that's spelled ko-fi.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Links to our Ko-fi account, our Instagram and Facebook page can all be found in the show notes for this episode. Thanks for listening. We couldn't do what we do without you.
I'm hoping by the next episode that I'll have a better voice for the listeners.
You sound good now. Listen to you.
You sound better.
I had a hot toddy during I did.
Just one.
Just one. I haven't left the seat for 3 hours. I had one big hot toddy. So oh, he's sitting out on the couch.
That's funny. So please join us for episode 4, where we will discuss Please Bring Me Home. Hold on a second. Bobby, can you just give me 2 seconds? I'm almost done. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Bobby.
Bye, Bobby. Okay. So please join us for episode 4, where we will discuss Please Bring Me Home's initial involvement in Lisa's case, which led to areas of interest. We will highlight the many searches they have conducted along with their findings. A $50,000 reward remains in place by the province of Ontario for information leading to an arrest and conviction in the disappearance of Lisa Maas.
And as always, this podcast is dedicated to Nolan Panchyshyn. We love you, Nolan.
Love you, Nolan.
Love you.
If anybody's watching this and you have any information on Lisa, please get a hold of Please Bring Me Home. Because I'm pretty sure somebody in this group has some info that you're sitting on. So let's stop sitting on that info and bring it to us so we can bring her home. Thank you. I love you.
The folk all around you, not believing it's real. How can this happen? So many emotions to feel. You plead, you beg, and you pray. Shedding light.